All right. House Speaker Mike Johnson represents Louisiana in Congress. He joins us with the very latest. Mr. Speaker, welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. We're hungry for any new information. Have you been briefed recently? Can you offer us anything new?
Yes, let me just say unequivocally that this act of pure evil, as President Trump said, is exactly right. A vicious attack on innocent Americans celebrating New Year's. Everyone involved in this needs to be brought swiftly to justice, and I have some confidence that our federal and state partners are working on that right now. I spoke late last night with my good friend, our governor, Jeff Landry, about his perspective on it, as well as Attorney General Merrick Garland, who we spoke about 11 p.m. last night. He gave me the latest report. There are many, many FBI agents on the ground that have been dispatched to New Orleans. They are looking at every possible angle, and we are trusting that that partnership between the federal and state authorities will bring us the answers that we need.
Mr. Speaker, we're praying for your state, but there's a lot of folks in your state that want answers. And one of the questions that I continue to hear was this guy on the radar of our Department of Justice, the FBI? I'm not asking you to reveal any classified information, but did they know this guy?
I don't know the answer to that yet, Lawrence. It's certainly the question that we've been asking from the very beginning. It's an obvious one. And let me say something else that's obvious. And I don't know if enough attention is being paid to this, but we all know that for the last 4 years, the Biden administration has been completely derelict in its duty. The congressional Republicans, we here in the House and the Senate, have repeatedly asked the DHS under the Biden administration about the correlation, the obvious concern about terrorism and the wide open border. The idea that dangerous people were coming here in droves and setting up potentially terrorist cells around the country. We have been ringing the alarms. We impeached DHS Secretary Mayorkas in the House over that very issue and others related to it. So this is a big concern. They told us, Lawrence, for 4 years that the number one threat was so-called racially motivated extremism. It was nonsense. This is the thing that we were all concerned about. This is why we raised the alarms. This is why we passed H.R. 2, the strongest border security act ever passed by Congress. And Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate would not put that through and make it into law. The Biden administration has a lot to account for here, and we see now in glaring view of everybody that this dereliction of duty has real consequences. It's a concern, and it will be an ongoing concern for some time.
Mr. Speaker, are you confident? Do you have full confidence in the investigation now with the suspects still out there that they're trying to get, that the New Orleans and the folks in your home state are safe at this hour, particularly with a big bowl game about to be played?
I can tell you the unclassified answer to that question is an important one. So far as I understand it, as late as last night, the most recent reports that I have, late last night, about 11 p.m., they see no direct correlation between a threat to the Sugar Bowl, no obvious evidence that what happened less than 24 or a little over 24 hours ago would pose any threat to the game. But I have to defer, obviously, to the people there on the ground and the investigators in charge because they know a lot more than I do here in Washington. I'll tell you, I was at Mar-a-Lago yesterday with President Trump just a couple of hours after that explosion at his place in Las Vegas at the hotel. And, he has concern, as we all do, and he is anxious to take office. We cannot wait. We're 18 days away from President Trump being returned to the White House and us restoring real law and order in this country. And it will begin with securing that border because that's a big priority.
I think there's a lot of people in the country that agree with that, but I just want to backtrack a little bit and talk about that briefing that you got. How can they say that there's no threat to the event if there are people still at large? Are they ruling that out right now? I know they arrested some folks, brought them into custody, and then released them. So are there people out there that are a threat or not?
It's a great question, Lawrence. We have more questions than answers right now. Of course, usually it takes about 48 hours for an investigation, for everything to come together after an event of this scale. I have, from what I know right now, I have some confidence that there is a sufficient number of law enforcement and investigative officials involved, that they're doing the best job that they can, is my understanding of the reports I got last night. But obviously, we don't know the answers to all the questions yet. Go ahead.
No, that's okay, Mr. Speaker. Are you confident that authorities are together on the sharing of information? The AG joined us of your state at the top of the 6 a.m. hour this morning, And she seemed to be airing some frustrations. She said she's not getting any updates from federal authorities out of the investigation that is ongoing on the ground there in New Orleans right now. Are you confident that there is a solid flow of communication from all those that are involved at the top here?
We're going to be demanding that accountability. Liz Murrill, our Attorney General, is a trusted friend, and she's a bulldog, and she will get the answers, and she will bring swift justice to everyone involved. But they need to be coordinating with the state officials, and we'll be exerting every pressure here that we can to make sure that that happens.
Mr. Speaker, let me shift gears just a bit. You have tomorrow's vote for you as Speaker. What can you tell us? How much confidence do you have that you will have the necessary votes to retain the gavel?
We're going to get this done. Look, I'm humbled and honored to have President Trump's endorsement for the role again, as well as the endorsement of leaders across the conservative spectrum and the Republican Party, all of my colleagues that are standing with us, and we will get this done. Look, the things that we're talking about this morning are an illustration that we live in very serious times. We cannot afford any palace drama here. We have got to get the Congress started, which begins tomorrow, and we have to get immediately to work. We have to certify the election of President Donald J. Trump on January 6th, on Monday. And we have many important things pressing on us right now. So there's no time to waste. We have to stay unified. The American people gave us a mandate. You know, President Trump got 77 million votes. We got almost 75 million for House Republicans, the largest number ever. And they have sent us a message that they want us to begin fixing all of this, and we will, and we're excited to do that.
Mr. Speaker, some of your members, especially within the House Freedom Caucus, have said they're not going to vote for you. So have you talked with them, had private conversations? Have they committed? Have they reversed that decision? Because it's a numbers game.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. We have the smallest margin in U.S. history. We'll have a margin of probably 2 votes tomorrow during that, so can only afford to lose 1 or 2. But I think we'll get it done. I really do, Lawrence. I've talked to every single one of those friends and colleagues over the holidays. We'll be talking about process reforms inside the House, and I've encouraged all of them, and I think the reason they're all going to vote yes is this. We're shifting into a brand new paradigm. We have unified government that begins tomorrow. We have the White House, the Senate, and the House, a totally different situation than we dealt with over the last 14 months since I've been Speaker. So we're excited to deliver on the America First agenda. It begins on day one, and all that begins right here tomorrow.
It begins at noon tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
For taking time.
Thank you.
More Fox and Friends. More Fox and Friends coming up.